Okay, so now we're actually going to get into the different phylums of the animal kingdom. So after listening to the video, you should be able to classify the different types of animals based on their specific characteristics. So I'm going to go through each phylum. I recommend that you write down the notes for each phylum, and if there is a diagram, you're going to want to draw that. Or you can always find one similar to mine and print it out, but keep it with your notes. So the first one we're going to talk about, how are different animals classified and how are they different? That should just be how are animals classified and how do they differ from each other? So we're going to look at sponges. Sponges are also called porifera. You find them porifera. Okay, so just to show you the picture, these are sponges. We find them in the ocean. And they have certain characteristics. They are what we call a sessile organism. They remain attached to one place during their lifetime, so they don't move. Okay, they have collar cells, which are cells that help move water through the sponges, those opening spaces. They are hermaphrodites. These are animals that can produce sperm and egg in the same body. They have a spicule, which is a sharp-pointed structure that provides support for the sponge, an osculum, where water enters and exits the sponge, and a pore, small openings in the sponge between the cells. So let's take a look at where those are at. So the osculum is the opening of the sponge. This is where nutrients enter and waste exit. Okay. Pore is where water flows through into the sponge. That's the space. Okay, a spicule is right here. Okay, remember the spicule is the sharp-pointed structure that provides support. This is the epidermis cell, so it's the skin of the sponge. And then the collar cells are the green right in here. Okay, they help move that water through the sponge, through those pores. So those are sponges. I'm going to go quick through this because you're going to do a research project on these. All right, the next phylum is Cnidarians. They're jellyfishes. And we also include coral reefs in this one. So something to know about coral reefs, they support a great diversity of life. Beaches and shorelines are protected from waves by coral reefs. They're home to many animals. Fossil reefs can give clues about location of oil deposits. Coral reefs provide chemicals or produce chemicals that might help humans fight cancer, so it gives us drugs. So coral reefs we include in this as well. All right, a jellyfish has what's called a medusa body form. It's a bell-shaped form and it's free swimming. So if you take a look at this jellyfish, this is the bell. It looks like a bell-shaped and it's free swimming, so it can move around. The polyp body form, so jellyfish have a different life cycle. They don't always move around. The polyp body form is shaped like a vase, and it's usually sessile. They cannot move. So they start out attached to the ocean floor, and they could be attached to coral reefs as well. And over time, as they grow, they go from a polyp form to the medusa form where they're free swimming. And the jellyfish's mouth and anus are the same, so very similar to the sponge. Nutrients go in and waste go out through the same opening. Okay, so those are Cnidarians. Flatworms, flatworms, that's another phylum. Flatworms include planarians, flukes, and tapeworms. Flukes and tapeworms are parasites. These are what can get into your stomach and cause major problems. This is a marine flatworm, very pretty. So those are the three different types of flatworms. Then you have your roundworms, which are your nematodes. They are usually parasitic and they are free swimming. So that's an example of a roundworm. Mollusks, squids and snails. All right, so these guys are pretty cool. They have a mantle, which is like an exo system. It's a hard outer covering that covers the body organs. They usually have gills. They have what's called an open circulatory system. We have a closed one. Our blood is in our veins and arteries and hearts and moves throughout there. They do not have these. The heart moves blood out into the open, so it's in their body cavities. And that it just surrounds the body organs. So blood surrounds the organs and floats around. They have siphons, which are tube-like structures in which water flows in. There are subdivisions to this phylum. You have gastropods, bivalves, and cephalopods. Gastropods are the largest group of mollusks. They include the snails, conchs, abalones, whelks, and slugs. They have a radula, which is like a tongue-like organ with rows of teeth that's used to scrape and tear food. So there's your gastropods. Then you have bivalves, which are clams, oysters, and scallops. And then the other subdivision are cephalopods, squids, octopus, cuttlefish, nautiluses, and they are ones that have an actual closed circulatory system. So the bivalves and gastropods have an open, cephalopods have a closed. So here's your bivalves, and the bivalve is the clams, and then your cephalopods, you've got your octopus and your squids. Okay, so to give you an idea, the mantle, that's that hard outer covering. Okay. A siphon, these parts right here that let the water in and out. Foot, that's what allows this clam to move. And they have gills. Another phylum is the echinoderms, which are sea stars. They have what's called a water vascular system. It's a network of water-filled canals with tube feet attached. The tube feet are hollow, thin-walled tubes with the suction cup. Subdivisions, so the different types: sea stars, brittle stars, sea urchins, sand dollars, sea cucumbers. They also can regenerate. They can regrow body parts, and they reproduce asexually and sexually. So there's some starfish, there's some sea urchins, sand dollar, sea cucumber. They're one of the neatest looking animals that we have. So this is what I was talking about, the ring canal. This is the water vascular system, and it's attached, the canals are attached with tube feet. And this one may be an example of a radial symmetry. Here's the inside of a starfish. Okay, our next phylum is the Annelids. These are your earthworms, or segmented worms, as they're sometimes called. Subdivisions: earthworms, marine worms, and leeches. Leeches are the ones that help with blood clotting. They have what's called a setae, which is bristle-like structures for movement, kind of looks like cilia. They have a crop, which is kind of like our stomach. It's a sac used for storage of food. They have a gizzard that grinds the soil and bits of organic matter, so it's kind of like a filter. It's going to grind things down. So this is a picture of some leeches. There's your marine worm to the right, earthworm to the left. Arthropods. Okay, arthropods. We've got our insects from the largest section of animals. They have an exoskeleton. All arthropods have one. Remember, that's what's going to help protect them. They have a spiracle, which is an opening in the abdomen and thorax through which air enters and waste gas leaves, so it's kind of like our lungs. They go through a process of metamorphosis. where the insect species change their body form to become adults. Can be complete or incomplete. Complete is when they go from an egg, larva, pupa to adult. Incomplete is egg, nymph, adult, so they skip the pupa stage. Insects, they have three body regions or appendages. They have a head, which has the antenna and eyes. Thorax is where the legs and wings are attached. And an abdomen, that's where the reproductive organs are stored. Insects usually have 3 pairs of legs, 1 or 2 pairs of wings if present. Another subdivision for the arthropods is arachnids, your spiders. They have 4 pairs of legs and no antennas. They have what's called a cephalothorax, okay, which has the head and thorax fused together. So they don't have 3 separate body sections, they have 2 body sections. They have a spinneret that allows them to spin a web. Crustaceans is the last subdivision. It's 1 or 2 pair of antennae, and they have jaws or mandibles. So here's some examples. If we got our insects, that doesn't need to be there. Spiders, arachnids, crustaceans. Lobster, crab, shrimp, crayfish. Okay, so for the insect, to show you the 3 body parts, there's your head, thorax, where the wings and legs are attached, and the abdomen, where the reproductive structures are carried. The head, member has the eyes and the antennas. Then there's your spider with 2 body parts because the head and the thorax are put together. So you've got the cephalothorax. Okay, Ophiuces, fish. Their subdivisions are jawless fish. Those are your lampreys and hagfish. Jawed, cartilaginous fish, sharks, skates, and rays, and bony fish, which make up 95% of the fish category. They have what's called a swim bladder. It's an adaptation, it's an air sac that allows the fish to adjust its density in response to the density of the surrounding water. So they can adjust to the pressure. They sometimes have a lateral line, that's the line of scales in the middle of a fish. So there's most of our bony fish. There's your lampreys and eels, and prey and eels. Oh, doesn't that look scary? And then sharks and rays and skates. So I'll give you an idea for a fish, that's that lateral line. They have a dorsal fin, ventral fin, anal fin, caudal fin that helps them move, pectoral fin. And that's where their gills are located. They have a gill cover. Phylum amphibians are frogs. They hibernate. They have a period of inactivity during cold weather. They also have an inactivity during hot, dry weather, which is estivation. They're ectotherms, meaning they respond to the surroundings. Their temperature does. Subdivisions are frogs, toads, and salamanders. So one of the cool things about amphibians is they are what we call biological indicators. These are organisms that are affected directly by the change in environment, including pesticides and other pollution. Overall health of species reflect the health of a particular ecosystem. So you have frogs, toads, and salamanders in an ecosystem that they're supposed to be in, then that's a healthy ecosystem. If you do not have frogs, toads, and salamanders in the ecosystem they're supposed to be in, then that means there's something unhealthy about that ecosystem, because they are very sensitive to changes in environments. So there's your frogs, little tree frog, toad, and salamander. Still cute. Oh, we got reptiles. Ooh, not my favorite. Snakes, lizards, turtles, and crocodiles. Dinosaurs are believed to be descendants of reptiles. Not my favorite. So scary. Especially if you watch swamp people. They go out and capture the crocodiles. Oh. Two more. Aves, birds. They have hollow bones so that they can fly. We do not have hollow bones. That's why one of the reasons why we can't fly. But not all birds can fly. Remember our video on the Galapagos Islands? There were birds there that could not fly. They have different types of feathers. Contour feathers are feathers that are used in flying. Primary and secondary. You've got primary located on the outside of the wing, secondary located on the inside of the wing. Down feathers are soft, fluffy, that provide insulation, and they preen. Birds rub oil from a gland over their feathers to clean them because they're so important when it comes to flight. We think birds originated from reptiles, so we think that the birds evolved from a singular species of reptiles. Okay, this is the diagram showing the bird. Let's look at primary and secondary. These are your primary, they're the outside wings that help for flight. Secondary are the inside wings that help for flight. And you got some tail feathers. Okay, last phylum for the kingdom of animals is the mammals. Mammals have mammary glands which secrete milk for feeding their young. That all mammals have hair. It keeps them warm, protects them, helps them sense the environment. And we do have some subdivisions. We have monotreme, marsupials, and placentals. We are placentals. Monotremes lay eggs. Marsupials give birth to immature young that are carried in an external pouch. Placentals, embryos completely develop inside the female uterus. After dinosaurs became extinct, we had a rise of mammals due to more habitat. Before, the dinosaurs fed off these mammals. And they took over the habitat. And that was about 65 million years ago, after the big asteroid impact in the Yucatan Peninsula. Clouds covered the sky, so large plants died off. They didn't get enough sunlight to photosynthesize. So our dinosaurs started to die off because those that were herbivores had no plants. And mammals who don't need the large plants were able to feed off the smaller plants. So mammals survived the asteroid impact 65 million years ago. So there's some examples. Here's your marsupial, the koala, and the kangaroo. Platypus is an example of a monotreme, and so is a possum, which is right here. That's a possum. And then placentals are everything else. Okay, so hopefully you've got a general idea of what each phylum, how they're a little bit different. You'll be starting a project that will enable you to really go in deep and talk about the different classifications for the animals, a little bit more detailed than the notes.